everyone, welcome to our Desert Cat Creations. Today we are going to learn how to make a peacock out of beads. We are going to make this small or medium peacock in this case using our kits that we offer for sale over on Desert Cat Creations. We currently have kits available. They're $25 plus shipping. And those kits include all the beads that you see here. This is just for the small peacock, but the kit includes beads for the large peacock and the smaller peacock. These two, plus it'll include written directions. And you'll have access to this video for anything that you might have missed or might not make sense when you're reading the written instructions. So let's talk briefly about what you need in case you want to come up with stuff out of your own stash. So for this we use these flat teardrops for tail feathers. These ones are approximately 18 by 14, I believe, or 13. You know, if you find those, you can use them in any color that you want. You will need 5 of those. The kit comes with 6 in case one gets broken, the color's a little off, or you lose one, you know, because I don't know about you, but when I make things, beads go flying. You will also need some coin beads. The kit includes 10 coin beads. You will actually be using 9 of them. So they're in 2 different colors. I like to alternate them, like on here, just to add a little extra something to the tail, because you know peacocks are all about their tails, right? You will have a clear body. This is, I think, a 24 millimeter. Yeah, approximately 24 millimeter body and a 12 millimeter head. Again, you can, you know, if you have them in different colors, that's fine, but you will need those. You'll also need some, for the other thing for the tail is either a round or a, I actually think that rondelles or like these diamond shapes, you could use a bicone as your other bead to kind of fill in a little spacing on that tail. The kit comes with rondelles, so we're going to use those. Then there's also a number of bicones here, which we're going to use for the feet. So 3 of those will become the toes, and actually this is not how I'm going to teach you to use the toes, but it is one option. It's just circling those 3 on the end. Then I put a few on the wire for the legs as well. So that's why you have so many of those. Then we have some, I believe these are 8 millimeter rounds. Yeah. And you can use rondelles, you can use rounds, you can use pretty much any shape, but these are for the neck, the turkey's neck. So in my sample, I used between a 6 and 8 millimeter. I used some rondelles and I used some rounds. So you could mix them up if you want. The kit's only gonna have one set of colors, but anyways, that's what we're gonna use today. Again, if you order the kit, you will get all of that. If you just want the written directions, you can message me and I will sell those for $5. And there's no shipping because it's a PDF I can send you. So that's always an option too if you have your own supply and you think you have enough that you want to, that you don't need to buy the kit. The other thing you need is a wire. For this particular kit, I really love colored wire when I'm making these kind of things. So for this kit, I'm going to use the Soft Flex Blue in 22 and 20 gauge and 22 gauge. You could do it all in 22, you could do it all in 20. There are some things that I think it's easier to do with the 22 than it is with the 20, and because these are fairly big, the 20 gauge is nice support mechanism because you do need something that kind of has a little bit of heft to it. I would not use anything smaller than a 22 gauge though, for this particular project. So I went ahead and started a couple pieces of the tail feathers, so you don't have to see me do these, like 15 times or whatever. So the first thing you got to do is figure out which color you want to be above your teardrop. I chose the blue as opposed to, this one's kind of a greenish, a greenish, but it's got a little gold, little gray. I think it's kind of, it kind of almost seems pyrite kind of color to me. And the rondelles are actually the same color, so they work real well. And so we're going to go ahead and make these tail feather pieces. So for the peacock, you need two different types of pieces for your tail. So one is we take the teardrop and then we put the coin above it, and that's one piece. For this other one, we just have a coin and we have the rondelle, and then we're going to have an open space. And it all makes sense when you put it together. Now, some of these crystals have different shades on different sides. So the teardrops tend to be purple on one side and kind of gold on the other side. So I would want the purple towards me. These coins, some of them have like sort of a deeper blue, some of it's a clear blue. So you could flip it either way, and it'll be most important that you flip the teardrops in so that they're all facing the way you want them. And you could alternate them, or and we'll lay it out as we get those together. But anyways, we're going to work on putting the pieces together to make our peacock tail, because that's the biggest, that and the feet are the things that require a little thinking. So I cut about 2.5 inches of 20 gauge wire, and I am just going to make a wrapped loop at one end. So I'm going to fold over about a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch. Then I'm making a loop, and then I'm going to make this a wrapped loop. Now, you don't have to make it a wrapped loop. You could make it a simple loop that's just what I call a rolled loop, which is what we're going to do on the other end of this wire. But like I said, you could do a wrapped loop on both ends of both wires, or you could just do the rolled loop. It is completely up to you, and it will not impact how this design works. It will impact how much time it takes you to do this, though. so anyways, then I'm going to put the coin bead on there, and then I want to put the teardrop with the fat end next to the coin bead. And like you end up with about 3/4 of an inch, and that's really longer than you need, but I just wanted to be close. You don't have to be exact. So now I'm just going to take my round nose pliers, and I am going to do what, like I said, I call it a rolled loop. Some people call it a simple loop. And I'm just going to twist this wire around my round nose pliers until it snug up against the bottom of this bead. So I need a total of 5 of those. I have 4, so let's do one more. Yeah, you do not have an extra, like I said, you could alternate these two colors of coins however you want to do it. it's up to you. But they're, you know, it's you're going to end up using 5 of one and 4 of the other. And like I said, it's kind of, you can match it up however you want. You could use them all in order. It really just depends on what you want. So again, we're just doing a simple wrapped loop here. I always have a hard time wrapping, especially this is the 20 gauge, so getting that little tip to twist can be a challenge. So we'll go ahead and tuck that in, and again we're going to just put our coin on here, and then we're going to put our teardrop on here. And like I said, don't worry about flipping them, because we do need to fix that before we tighten up our tail, but we've got time. So, and again, you're just twisting the end of that around. It doesn't have to be, you know, pretty, because that part's not going to show. This part will show, which is why I like to use the wrap loop. So for the other parts, I'm going to make the wrapped loop. And, you know, it's up to you if you want to make all these loops on top exactly the same, or you just kind of free form them, which is what I do. You know, I get them approximately close, but, you know, you can always mark your pliers so that you get the same size loop every time. Move that out of the way. But it is really up to you how particular you want to be on this project. So now I want to take a coin, which this should be the other color of coins from what's on top of the teardrop, and then I'm going to add a rondelle underneath it. And then you're going to twist do another rolled loop. Now, you don't want to roll all the way up. You want this to come out to be approximately the size that, these ones are. So that's actually pretty close. So in this case, they end up being about 1.5 inches. And let's go ahead and do the last one. And wrap that around. All right. I'm going to tighten that up with my flat nose pliers. For some reason, it's easier for me to do these tucking in. All right. So again, I'm going to put one of my coins on here. And one of the rondelles. And then I'm going to just make a rolled loop. Again, I'm just rolling with my pliers or my wrist. And you can adjust those. So let's go ahead and let's look and see what we have here. Let me get my tools out of the way. I'm gonna leave my all right, so what I have now is what we want to do is alternate these. And like I said, you need to, some of these have different coatings on the other side, so they will appear a little different in color depending on which side you have towards you. You want to make sure that all of the teardrops are facing in the direction you want. Those ones you're not going to be able to move once you start putting things together. The other ones you can probably still flip, at least for a little while. Depends on how much wrapping you do. So I'm going to put that one there, that one there. This one kind of snuggles between there. So, you know, basically what you're doing is you're sort of snuggling that little rondelle in there. Give this coin the same height as the other coins. Now, like I said, those are very similar in colors. They look very similar. And what you want to do as we start putting this together is you want it so that the bottom is flat and not, because you can easily make it so that it ends up like this, which, you know, that's okay too, but I like it to be sort of snug and flat, and that gives him a little more stability as he's sitting on the table. Now you could, if you wanted to, like I said, we have to decide on the colors here, so I could alternate those two so that, you know, these alternate colors, but I kind of like mine all purple. And just realize that some beads will have stronger color than others sometimes, you know. There are variances in, maybe I should have used that one, but since this one's a little duller, I'm going to put it on the bottom, put one of my brighter ones on the top, because, you know, the bottom one's going to be blocked a little bit by the body. Anyways, so there we go. All right, so now for making the rest of the tail, I do like to use 22 gauge wire, and I recommend cutting at least 15 to 18 inches. I'm going to go ahead and do 18 here. If it's too short, it's not the end of the world. You can always add more. So what I want to do is put the rolled loops on here, and like I said, I want to alternate the teardrop piece with the rondelle piece. So every other one is a teardrop and every other one is a rondelle. And don't worry too much if these aren't lined up right, because you'll be able to flip them, you know, before we get too far into it. So then I would lay them down. Now, if you'll notice, all my purples are facing the other direction, which is fine, because when I flip it over, they will all be facing the same direction, right? And like I said, don't worry about the top beads right now. What I want to do is just kind of pull these wires a little bit together, but remember, we're trying to keep it so that it's kind of flat on the bottom here. So that's pretty much there with that wire, and I am just going to wrap this briefly around that. Now this is the hard part, because we have to kind of hold it as we wrap, and we need to make sure that all our teardrops are facing the direction we want them to, because once you get stuff wrapped around it, you cannot flip those. So this is the hard part, and it's gonna be hard for me to kind of show you. All right, this guy's over there. So, you know, if you have to, lay them down, make sure everything's going the right direction. What I like to do is, like I said, I make this short on my wire, short on one side and long on the other. I do that it's just because of the way I like it. I could just as easily have made this in the middle, but I'm going to take this short end and I am just going to wrap it around All right, so I did manage to grab that other one. I want it just around the bottom of this teardrop. And that'll be fine. All right, now, again, so I want these to be kind of snuggled up. So I've got that second one. So I'm going to hold on to these. I'm going to bring this around. You could go either way. So I'm going to go all the way around, and then I'm going to take it around this wire that just has the coin and the rondelle. And like I said, I want to snug, you know, basically I want it to snuggle up to that. And then, you know, the easiest thing to do is just slide the next one over. I've got this wire going behind it. I'm going to come around, all the way around, and hold it tight. And then, you know, just one by one, I'm bringing these over. You know, these in between ones are just going to be a wire that you're going around, not a bead, because you want the beads to be at the top. But what I'm doing is locking the bottom of the wire in. And I'm just kind of alternating back and forth, going all the way around and then between. Now, if you're a little unsure about how tight to do this, do it a little loose at first, because it's easier to tighten it up than it is to loosen it up, okay? So we've got that. I can still move that. And like I said, I'm just taking turns moving these in. Let's get this next one snuggled in there. You know, you kind of want to pull this kind of tight. Now, you have to be a little careful that you're not bending. You're not bending your wires too much. The ones that are part of the tail here. So let's now bring this last piece up. All right, so now I have it kind of tight. So it's a little loose in here, but that's okay. We can tighten that up, but you can see it's starting to get a little posture to it. Now, see, these ones I didn't get close enough together, so I am going to go back around, and then I'm going to be pulling these a little bit tighter as I bring them together. This is particularly where I want to tighten it. So I am pulling that together. I'm going to just bend that wire up so that it's going in the direction, you know, helping bring these together. And then I'm just going to continue that, you know, wrapping around and through. And, you know, I like to alternate them, but you don't, you know, if you end up going the same direction, that's okay too. But as long as you're wrapping all the way around so that you're getting some support on this and getting them tightened together, right? So and you know, it's okay if you change it. It's okay if it's a little sloppy, because you know what, this part's not really going to show. I mean, you will see it a little bit from the back, but it's not going to be what people are primarily looking at. Now, since my wire was so loose there, I am going to go across and wrap around this one. And I think now I am going to skip wrapping around those middle ones, and I am just going to wrap around the ones with the teardrops. And we're starting to run short on wire, which is okay. We'll, like I said, if it's not tight enough, we just add another piece of wire in there. So chances are we have to, you know, unless this is really tight, which mine isn't, I'm going to want to add another layer of wrapping at this level, right? So anyways, there we've got that starting to take shape. Now that one, you know, it looked a little short. We want this you want these the rondelles to just kind of snuggle in there. You know, I might have shortened those a little bit, but you know what, we'll still make it work. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut. I'll do another, you know, 15 inches or so. You don't have to be exact. It's okay. So I'm gonna wrap at this point. So I'm just gonna start on one of these. I'm gonna wrap around that. Now this one, I'm gonna go underneath and bring that next to it, and then I'm going to wrap here. And we're just going to, you know, pull this together as we go. Now this is where you want to make sure that everything is kind of facing the direction that you want, because once you get these wires wrapped around it, it's hard to make changes. I'm going to just wrap that in so that it's not getting in my way. And you know, you could, if you wanted to, you could use a different color wire for this if you wanted to add some more color to your tail. Now, there's nothing that says you have to just stick with one color. I'm only using one color, but there's always that option. So I am wrapping below the rondelle, just so it gets snuggled up tight. Now the good thing is we'll be able to, you know, move some of this stuff around as we get it the rest of the way together. And I'm going to wrap from behind and then wrapping around there. These ones are two-sided, but I think, you know, they're a little subtle, but we'll stick that in there. And there we have a second layer. Now you can, you could go back over those, which I think I will, but I'm just going to do around the coins at this time. And I am going to run just short of being able to come all the way back around, but that's okay. All right, so that's how we make our peacock tail. Yeah, he looks good, huh? All right, so next thing we got to think about is his feet. So you could do the feet in a couple of different ways. So let me show you. One is just doing these little twirly wire feet. Since these are fairly big, I like to use beaded feet, but you can do that. There is a video out on my YouTube channel where you can do that. You could do these simple, where you just do his legs, but don't worry about his feet, and just do, these closed rings there. That's an option. Or you can do what we're going to show you here and this one actually is different than I'm going to show you. So this one, what I did was I took his 3 toe beads. I just did them in a loop, sealed it, put a few extra beads on there, and did that on both ends. But I'm going to show you a different foot. So I'm going to start with a 6-inch piece of, I'm going to use 22 gauge wire here. And what I need to do, Jinx, stop. Is pick out some beads. So I need about 4 for each leg. I have 2 different color beads here, so I think I'm just going to alternate. So there's 1 leg, there's 2 legs, and then I need 3 toes for each foot. Okay. So I'm going to start. In this case, I'm using 2 of one color and 1 of one color. So I'm going to take the one I have 2 colors of. And I'm going to put it on my wire. Then I'm just going to bend the wire to wrap around that bead. And do, a quick loop to connect it. Nothing fancy. Because trust me, nobody's going to see what we're doing. All right. Then I'm going to put the other one that's the same color on there. And I'm going to wrap back around, and then I want to do a quick wrap between the 2. So I have 2 beads sticking out that way. And then I'm going to take the third one, which is, in this case, is my different color bead. And that's going to be his center toe. Right, so I'm going to do the same thing, wrap back and around, and then I want to go all the way around so that I'm coming straight out here. So I have those 3 toes, and then I have my long wire sticking out. So now I'm going to put on my the leg beads. And like I said, these can be whatever you want. I think I ended up with, I am alternating colors just because that's what I want to do, but you can do whatever you want. So there's 1 leg. Oh, actually, I'm not, well, these need to be in reverse. So, all right, that's 1 leg. And then I'm going to put on the 4 beads for the other side. And again, I'm alternating colors, but I am using the same design as I did before. Okay, so when I split these and they're going out from the middle, blue, green, right? Okay, so now I need to put on my 3 toes. So you want to start with the one that's going to be the middle toe. So in this case, that's my green bead. And then I'm going to put on the 2 blue beads that are my side toes, right? All right, so I have, and you could make these longer. I found that with what I'm doing, the 4 beads is about what I need. All right, so now we're going to make the other toe like we did that one. So we're going to slide first bead up. We're going to just flip this end around and just make sure there's enough to just loop it around this wire, right? Then you have the second bead. So I'm going to come back and go around the middle. And don't worry, this will all come out okay, because we can shift things around. And then I'm going to put my third toe on there, doing a wrap around, and then I'm wrapping all the way around in between 2 of the toes. So you end up with something that looks like that. And when I slide that, I have a space in the middle, and I have 2 feet on both sides. So I'm going to take this in my round nose pliers in the middle, and I'm just going to make a loop. So now I have a loop. I have feet going the other way, and don't worry about it. We'll straighten those feet out when we get it on the wire. So, all right. So those really are the 2 most complicated things on putting this together. Now you have to decide whether you want to use 20 gauge or 22 gauge. I'm going to just use an extra long piece of 22 gauge here, just because it bends a little easier, and I really don't need all that sticking out here. So I'm going to, again, cut about 2 feet of wire if I don't drop my wire on the ground. So, all right, so 1 foot, 2 feet. All right, making a mess over here. So now I want to take my wire. Now you want the part of your tail that you want facing forward. And I am going to, there's, little holes through here. So I'm going to take my wire through one of the holes, and then I'm going to just kind of create a loop and come back through it. So you want it kind of even, because otherwise you can end up with it pulling to one side when you put things together if you're not careful. So if I go in, I want to go in one side and come out the opposite side. Don't know why I can't seem to get my wire through there. Oh. All right. So I've kind of made a hook, and I'm bringing it between these beads. And actually that didn't end up being in the middle. I need to bring this back to the other side of that bead. All right, here we go. So I'm coming between this one and this one at the moment. So, and I end up, with a hook, and then I'm just going to twist these together just to tighten it up. And you want to stay in the middle. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is slide the loop through the loop of the feet, the legs and feet piece. We're going to slide that on there. And then you're going to put your body on. And the body should easily fit over, the 2 pieces of wire. and it snuggles up next to that. So you see you have the feet, you have the body, and the tail. Now, so your neck, you can make it however big you want. Sometimes I find definitely next to these beads you want something round or roundel. You don't want to use a square up next to it, but you could use squares in the middle part of your neck. I tend to like shorter necks here, so I'm going to see how it looks, because these are 8mm beads, so they're pretty thick. So you're probably going to want 3 to 4 of them. I did put extra ones in your kit, so you can decide how long you want the neck. Like I said, on this guy I had 3 big ones and 2 small ones. And so normally, yeah, like 3 to 4. I'll put 4 on here and see how I like it, and then we can always take it off if we don't. All right, so that's 4, and then I'm going to put his head on so that I know whether I like the length of that or not. So you kind of want to like twist this up. Now, you know, so with the 4 beads and kind of twist it, it puts his head sort of right at the top of his tail. I think I'm going to do 1 less bead. I'm going to give him a shorter neck, but like I said, you can do whatever works for you. So I put the head on, and then, so if you've made our turkey, you'll know that we used these shaped beads as wattles, but in this case it's a beak, so I want the biggest side of it towards the head. So you end up with, so you've got his tail, you've got his legs, his body, his neck, and then he's got a little beak. So you do want to bend this wire, you know, somewhat in the shape before you start wrapping backwards, because otherwise it'll get too stiff and you can't bend it. So this is why I use 22 gauge, because now I can go back easily. Because the first thing I'm going to do is just go around this backwards and then around between the head. That may have loosened up a little bit. Really don't want his beak to stick out that far from. So, you know, you want it tight, but not so tight that you can't maneuver this wire. It's easier to tighten things up than loosen it. So, all right, I'm going to pull that. I'm going to go around. And then I'm just going to, you know, wire wrap by now going around the next bead and then all around the behind it. And I'm basically keeping these, when I go over the bead, I'm keeping it on the bottom, but you could just as easily have it on the top. And you don't even have to go all the way around if you're running short on wire or something, but, and you'll see his head got flipped, but again, we can adjust that. So before I keep going though, I want to make sure I have the feet going the right direction. Like I said, I can adjust his head. So I like to wrap along the bottom so that, you know, the wire isn't necessarily my main part of the design, but it can be. It's really up to you. And so I'm going to wrap this in front of the feet, and then I'm going to go around a second time behind the feet. And then what I want to do is, you know, just take it out through the back of the tail. This is just to give it a little more support and make sure your tail's on there really well. I'm going to come back in it really doesn't matter where in the tail you do this. You can, I'm just doing the top center of the tail, and like I said, it's just an extra thing to anchor that tail on there. And then I'm going to come back. In this case, I have plenty of wire, so I'm going to go back around his neck just to make sure he's good and attached. And then back towards the tail one more time. And then it's just a matter of, like I said, now you can wrap this however much or however little you wanted. You could certainly stop at this point, and I apologize for going off screen. Sometimes I get so excited to see things up close. And right now I'm just taking the wire and, you know, just doing some additional wrapping around the tail. But just to use up the wire. Because in this case, instead of, you know, I could cut it off. That's perfectly acceptable. I'm just adding, you know, a little extra strength by doing some more wrapping there. So and I'm using my pliers to pull it tight just because it's hard to get a hold of as it gets shorter. You want the ends of your wires to be, you know, kind of between the body and the tail, just so if anybody's messing with your bird, they don't touch the wires though. All right, so there we've got his tail. We've got his feet. Now, so for the feet, I like to twist these around. Okay, so it looks like we captured his foot a little in there, but we can loosen it. And then I like to just turn these feet up so it looks like he's, you know, sitting with his feet facing up. And let's see, I got all these facing the way I want. And now, you know, like I said, just making sure his neck is the shape you want it. And there you go. You've got your peacock. So, you know, you may have to play with them a little bit. So I probably could have, you know, made the feet a little longer, but you can use those to help give him a little stability. You know, if you need to flip the tail back to give him more support, you can do that. You know, you can push the feet under him, and it looks like he's standing on his feet. And there you go. That's our peacock kit and what he looks like. So you will have extra beads, so just take advantage of those nice crystals, put them in your stash. Now, I also do, at this point, I'm going to make sure that all of my loops are facing forward. Now that everything's nice and anchored, it's easy to just twist these. But you know what, that's one of my things that I like to have. So there you go. Now, like I said, if you, hopefully you enjoyed this kit. That's how you make it. When you're making the bigger one, you'll want to use, you know, I would say add like at least 1/2 inch to any of the measurements of the stuff in the tail. When you're cutting the wire, because those beads are bigger. And anyways, thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this project. Please like and follow Desert Cat Creations on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And feel free to share this video. That always helps me out getting some more visibility. And I'd love to, you know, if you like it, like and follow us. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for joining me. Bye.